Hello friends of analog photography. In today's video I'm going to show you how you can easily convert your color negatives into positives. Hey! As already mentioned, in today's video I'm going to show you how to convert your color negatives into positives without using any massively expensive plugins. Let me say one word about plugins. Plugins are always using tools, or let me say they are only using tools that are already present in Photoshop. So if you know where to find those tools and how to use them, you can achieve exactly the same results without wasting loads of money. So let's go right in. Now, why would you want to know how to convert your negatives into positives by yourself? There are different reasons for this. One reason could be that yes, you own a film scanner, but you are not satisfied with the results that the pre-made film profiles of your scanning software will give you. The other reason, and this is the most common reason, is you do not own a film scanner and you do DSLR scanning and you do not want to waste lots of money into expensive plugins which are converting your color negatives into positives. And therefore I'm going to show you two ways today. The first way will be the little longer way, and it will give you a really good starting point or very good results if you don't have any neutral gray point in your image from which you could work. So this way is a little bit longer, but leads you very close to a good result. And in my opinion it's also the more accurate way of working this out, but still it always depends on how you want your image to look. And the second way is a quicker way. You could also say the quick and dirty way, but it works brilliant if you have a neutral gray point or a pure white point in your image, since you can make your white balance very quick. Okay, now I would say let's start right in. So most of the time, if you're running through YouTube and searching for a way to convert your negatives into positives, you will find this way. You're inverting your image, you're creating a levels adjustment, and you're going into the different color channels and you're fiddling around until you reach a point where you kind of like your image. Like so. But this is very fiddly just to reach this state. So, well, there are many better ways, okay? As I just told you, let's start with the longer way. So this is way number one. And don't be afraid, you don't have to remember all those steps in detail if you do not want to, because I prepared an action for you. Create a copy of your background layer and now sample the color of the orange mask. Therefore, take your eyedropper tool, make sure it's an average between 5x5 or 11x11 and sample the color. Create a new layer and fill it with the foreground color. So that's the color we just sampled. Now we're going in and hitting divide, and with that we're removing the orange mask from the image. Hit Ctrl Alt Shift and E to create a new stamp, all of these three layers, and now simply hit Ctrl I to invert this layer. And you see we are pretty close to what we already saw. Next thing we're gonna do is setting our black point, so hit Create a Curves layer and set your black point. So there wasn't happening a lot, but just a little bit was happening. Now go in, that's really important now, and crop away your black borders. Because the next step will use some automatic calculations and we do not want Photoshop to use your black borders in its calculations. And now we are doing exactly the same than all those expensive plugins. We are using Photoshop's automatic options. Now, hit Alt on your keyboard and press the Auto key up here. Now the auto color correction options will open up. And here you whether choose enhance per channel contrast or find dark and light colors. Most of the time enhance per channel contrast works best for me. Let's go. And this already looks quite good. And just to remember you, this is your go-to method if you don't have a gray card or something like this in your image. So if this was not a professional photo shoot and you don't have a gray card, I would use this as a good starting point. If you find your image to have a heavy color cast now, you could also say snap neutral midtones and would remove color casts. But since this is Kodak Gold and I'm pretty happy if it's a little warmer, I'm going to go with it without snapping neutral midtones. Now hit OK. Since I now feel that this image still looks a little bit too cold, I'm going to warm it up just a bit. So create a color balance layer and let's warm this up just a little bit. Midtones on the shadows, like so. And also give the highlights just a hint of warmth, not too much. So you shouldn't fiddle around with highlights too much, since in reality, normally highlights don't have a color. So for example, if you have a reflection on a blue car, the reflection itself shouldn't have a color, so that's not realistic. So the highlights on a reflection never have color casts. Okay. Well, this so far was technique number 1. You could of course go in and enhance this even further. You could go and create another curves layer, another levels layer, play with your contrast, your saturation, or whatever you want. But in this tutorial I just wanted to show you the basic way how to achieve a nice positive image. So let's pack this into a group and let's call it way 1. And don't forget, as just mentioned in the beginning, there is an action doing all this stuff here for you on my blog post. Simply go there and download it. You don't need to subscribe to my newsletter, but I would be happy if you do so, of course. Okay, way number 2, the quick and dirty way. Let's bring back the border, because we will need it. Let's duplicate the layer by hitting Command J. And now let's go really simple. Hit Ctrl I to invert this. Go in, create a curves layer, choose the black eyedropper, choose your border, and that's quite close to something you already saw. Now go in, create another curves layer, choose your neutral gray eyedropper, and choose a neutral gray point in your image. Now that's quite nice, so I like it. I like the result pretty much. And if you're absolutely happy at this point and you don't want to do anything more, then you could say you're finished. But if you want to do anything more and you even want to enhance your image a little bit, let's combine this method with the method from before. Okay, let's crop away the black border. Let's create another curves layer. Hit Alt and Auto to open up the auto options and go into the same point as before, so enhance per channel contrast. Now this changes quite a lot. The only thing in my opinion that's too extremely now is the saturation. So let's go in, go to Use Saturation and reduce the saturation just a little bit, like so. And here we go. Now that's way number 2. Now let's compare way number 2 to way number 1. You see? Way number 2 and way number 1 are absolutely different results. Again, way number 1 is the better way if you have no reference points in your image. And it also gives you, well, slightly more control over your different color channels. And is more likely what you see and when you're taking the image. So when I shot the image, I think mostly realistic on how the situation actually looked. It was a cold but sunny autumn day, and therefore this is the more realistic image. But if you want to have the so-called Kodak Gold look, then this is more close to what I have in my mind. For Kodak Gold, I would go with this. And you don't have to stop at this point, okay? So even with method number 1 and 2, you can even go further fiddling around with color balance, with levels, with curves adjustments, layers, with whatever you want. But in my opinion, these are two very, very accurate and quick ways to achieve great results. Okay, I hope this video was helpful for you. that you learned a lot. I want to remind you into the free action, which you can find on my blog. It also includes a sharpening action, so check it out. And if you liked my video, and if it was helpful for you, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button so you will be notified about new videos. I wish you a wonderful day, week, evening, morning, whatever it may be at the moment, and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.